Hello, and welcome to AvalonPending. My name is Steven, and today we are going to review the Zenfone 2. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the phone. The Zenfone 2 is a 5.5-inch phone. It has a rear-facing 13 megapixel camera. Here is an example picture taken from the phone. And it also has a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. The battery on the phone seems good, although I don't use the phone all day. I have tried to use it during the time I've had it in order to see how much it could take. And I guess unless you're using your phone all day, then it's going to last more than a day. However, chances are if you do use it every day, you're going to have to charge it every night. So the version we have today is the $200 version. It has 16 gigabyte internal memory, and it has a 1.8 gigahertz quad-core CPU with 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is enough for most basic applications and a lot of games. That's the minimum specs anyway. We also have the $300 version, which is pretty much the exact same phone, but it has 64 gigabytes of internal memory. It does 2.3 gigahertz on the processor, and it has 4 gigabytes of RAM. Ultimately, though, they're the same phone. But then we have the new Zenfone Laser, which looks and generally is the exact same phone as the other two. However, it has a laser focus for the rear-facing camera, which allows it to focus faster and more precisely. The specs on the phone are a little different. It has 3 gigabytes RAM into it. Instead of using an Intel quad-core processor, it uses the Snapdragon 615 processor, which according to their website is 1.7 gigahertz. Now, this particular phone costs $250, so I imagine it's a little bit cheaper than what you expect because of the processor change, even though it slightly increases the gigabytes on the RAM. All that aside, all three are still using Android 5.0 Lollipop, which I find very interesting. I figured eventually we'd see 5.1 update on the Zenfone, but we haven't yet. And now this brand new Zenfone, which has a completely different processor in it, is still using Android 5.0. So I imagine that they're going to upgrade all three models to 6.0 Marshmallow at some point in the future. Otherwise, why wouldn't you install 5.1 in your newest phone? So let's go ahead and get a close-up look of the phone. So, this is the Zenfone 2. So, as you can see, we have the Android 5.0 installed with Asus's own UI installed over it. So, I think some of the things that are unique to the particular UI is these different app folders, I guess. However, this is also a downside, not because of the software, but because Zenfone or Asus has decided to throw a bunch of useless apps onto this phone that you don't need. Like, what we got in here? Okay, some of those are important. But if we go into this one, we got things like the Zeno and TripAdvisor and whatnot. I didn't install those. Those are all pre-installed. So that's a little bit annoying when it comes to this particular phone. And you can't delete the apps, so the only thing you can do is uninstall the updates. But aside from that, the phone has plenty of memory to handle them anyway, and as long as you make sure they're not running in the background, you're going to be solid. So let's go ahead and jump into Hearthstone so you can see how well this thing runs. Alright, we're in. So it does take a few moments for it to actually start, but once it does, it seems like it runs just fine. And I think Hearthstone is one of those games that could be a little bit more on the difficult side to play on a phone, unless it does have the specs needed. So there's a good example of Hearthstone. So now let's go ahead and show off the physical attributes of the phone. So up top here you have your speaker, and you have your front-facing camera, and the sensors that go along with making a phone turn off when it's up against your ear. Down at the bottom here, we have physical buttons. They're still touch buttons, but they're built into the phone's edge, which I like. I don't like it when buttons are built in or put into the screen, because then you don't see them when the phone's turned off. But when you put this guy like to sleep, you still see the buttons down there. Now, if we go ahead and look at the top, you can see it has that concave shape to it, which allows it to, fit into your hand very snug-like. And we also have the power button and sleep button up here at the top, along with your headphone jack. On the bottom, we have the charging port, the micro USB port there. And then here is the back. This is the silver Zenfone, just in case you were wondering. And as you see, you got the rear-facing camera there and the flash. And then you also have these buttons here, which are your volume buttons. Which is really nice, because when you're holding the phone, that volume key is right there where your pointer finger is. So it's super easy to adjust the volume on the fly. And then the last thing to notice is on the sides, we don't have any buttons whatsoever, which makes it to where you can really grip the thing and not have to worry about pushing any buttons or anything. So all in all, I would say this thing has everything you're going to need for $200 compared to $600 or $700 iPhones or Samsungs. You get the 5.5-inch screen and whatnot, so it's a nice big screen to watch videos on, and generally it's a really solid phone. It feels good. It doesn't bend or anything. It is a very solid phone. It does have a few downsides, such as the fact that it's not updated to the newest Android. I understand why it's not updated to 6.0, although, because most of the Android phones are going to take a few months before they all start to update to 6.0. All the extra apps that are installed on this phone is a little bit annoying. I wish I could have had the option to install those myself. But with those two things out of the way, I would say $200, go ahead and buy it. Although, if you have an extra $50, I would recommend buying the newest Zenfone with the laser focus. And I only say that because even though the processor is a little bit less than this one, it does have that extra gigabyte of RAM, which is good for playing games like Hearthstone. And the laser focus is also a really nice feature if you're going to take a lot of pictures. So with that said, thank you for joining me, and join us on our next tech review.